Okay. Um, well, everyone, thank you for joining us for the Youth Career Pathways Apprenticeship webinar. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We do have a go ahead and make this bigger here. We do have a little bit of a different schedule than what we had originally planned. We're going to have the Case Note Focus webinar on February 14th. And so we'll go into the details and best practices and all the different resources for creating wonderful case notes on the 14th. And then we'll have some of our career planners that are in this working with this program to provide their input and experience as well. So today we do have some new updates that have gone out. And so we have some more resources that are available. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of some of these changes so that they are not taken by surprise. So I'm going to go ahead and increase my screen share so you can see my screen, and we'll go ahead and make that check-in pod available at the end of the webinar. So the first thing I wanted to cover, I am in the test environment for our group, for our youth career pathway and apprenticeship program. And I'm going to start out with, let me go ahead and go to our customer list, our test group of customers. I'm in my list of customers, and one of the things I want to point out, first of all, is our case note update. We do have an update to the case notes. You can, just as a reminder to everyone, you can access the case notes from a variety of places. So at the top of each of these pages, you can see your case notes, and you can click on the case note. And whenever you add a case note now we have an area that in Online Workout we call it selecting a task. And if you're familiar with IWDS, sometimes you'll have it. These are basically the same items that are the different types of case notes that are available in IWDS. We have modified some of them for the two-way communication, so you can see if it's email or in person. This one will change the text to phone or text, social media, or not able to contact. And one of the reasons why we're doing this is that we can, again, provide more information as we populate IWDS with the different types of case notes. But also, we'll be able to use this, or you'll be able to use this for the reporting pieces. So we want to continue to build out reporting and give you visibility of the different types of case notes that are being sent and used. And then also, if you're entering the information in through Illinois WorkNet, then you can further define this two-way communication as an email, in-person, phone, social media. To just even get a better idea of how that communication is taking place. And then you still have the same information. You'll have your subject, and then you'll have your message. So I can put in that this is for an assessment and test assessment note, and I'm just going to save this one as a case note, and I add the case note. And you can see, I have the type, message, and information. Now, whenever you enter those case notes into any of those pages, all of them, come together as this case note summary, so you can see all the different case notes. And you can also see the information that's coming in from IWDS. So whether it's coming in as assessment, general, two-way communication, whatever that type is that's coming in from IWDS, it'll populate it here as well. I'm going to have your note. Okay, so that is the case note update. The next update that we have is the progress page. Let me see if I get one here. Let me go back. I believe this person has their progress page. They're an older customer or in our test environment. So, we've been talking for a while about making, updating the dashboard, and we want to make sure that the information that is in the Illinois WorkNet is current and accurate. And so we have implemented the 30-day review. So once a person has, what's going to happen is you'll see this alert box, and it's not to say there's anything wrong. It's just to tell you that, hey, time has come, and it's time to review the information. So what we really want you to do is, just to make sure that their contacts are correct, all their information, just a quick look, do their goals need to be updated? The barriers, are those still accurate? The services, are they entering and, getting updated properly? Credentials, has this person had their credentials entered? And we're going to go ahead and, so we want you to look at that information and then just click that they've done it and then hit submit, and that's it. That's as simple as it can be. We are going, it's not with this release, but we are going to add an enhancement to that 30-day progress page review so that you'll have a button, so you'll be able to see, a printer-friendly read-only copy that, breaks all this information out so you can easily see it, so you don't have to click on each of these sections, and it'll bring in the last case note as far as, and also the worksite placement information. So that's a future enhancement, but as of today, when you go to those pages and you see that red box, I just want to make sure that you're not alarmed that something is wrong. It's not that anything's wrong. You just need to check the information. It's a reminder to make sure that the information in the progress page is accurate and current. Okay, so then the next item, which I didn't have on our list, but I want to make sure we cover it, is, well, actually, while we're here, while we're on the progress page, we do have a service that comes in, and you can add it onto this page as far as the individual service strategy. And what we want to do is to make sure for the purposes of this program that this, basically this progress page is like your individual service strategy, because we have the contact information, we have goals, and you have your barriers, you have the services. And so what we want you to make sure that you're doing is that you put in all your planned services that are based on, the goals and barriers, what's needed, and include those in the services section so that whenever they're updated in IWDS, it'll just update and populate this page, because the customer has a read-only view of this page, so they could go in and see their information. And then, so basically that's the gist right now for using this page as their individual service strategy document. We will also be reviewing this page, and if there are things that, as you go through this and you use this, that, like you have in your own process that you think would be helpful to include in this information to really make that complete, even more complete, then just let us know, because we do want your feedback. We do want to make this, user-friendly, and but also include all the the pieces and parts that you need to make sure everything's in order. So you can send those to me. You can always send them to info@onlineworknet.com, and then you'll be able to, and then we can review those and incorporate those updates into our future enhancements. Okay, so I saw, let me see a question. When will the 30-day review be due? I would like to set reminders. Okay, well, Courtney, that's a good segue into the next piece, which is the dashboard. Now, the dashboard is not available out on production yet, but this is on test, and so Cody does have this out there. He just needs to add in the text for the info bubbles, and then we need to do some testing. And once we finish testing, then we will put it out to production. And this will do exactly what you want it to do. You'll get your notifications of the 30-day review is when you need to have that complete. So we'll get to that in just a second. But I wanted to kind of go through these different parts. And we'll go through this again once it's released to production. But I wanted to kind of give you a heads up on what's coming. So we have this broken down so that you can see the different areas that are the different kind of like stopping points, or the different places where a person may need action. And this is a little bit different than our other dashboards because we've kind of we changed up how we are using some of this color coding, but I'm sure you'll pick up on it very quickly. So the yellow items where they have the little triangles, those are areas where you need to have action so that you can, if you have somebody that started pre-screening but they haven't completed, you'll know who those people are. You can reach out to them and say, can you complete this? We have tried to set like a standardized notification process so that if a person is sitting in yellow for too long, then you get a notice. So if a person has been sitting in the pre-screening section for too long, like for more than 5 days, then they're going to move down to this red section. So now the red, instead of it being stop, is more of an alert, like, hey, this person's been here too long, we need to do something with them. And so we'll have these next steps, and these next steps will be modal windows so that it'll pop up on your screen. You can see what the next step is with the links to the different resources, because what we're really trying to do is bring the instructions and next steps in line and available to you so you don't have to know to go somewhere else to find the answer. It's right there for you. So that's our goal, that's our intent, and I'm sure that we'll could use some finessing and refining as we continue to move forward. But in those cases, just feel free to let us know what information that you need, and we can, especially if it's text, we can easily update that information. So just to recap, we have yellow, needs action; red, it's an alert, say, hey, this person really needs action; green, you're good to go, we met the criteria for this area; and gray is, you're fine, you've already been identified as like not suitable, declined to participate, which basically means like you're grayed out. You're kind of, this is your stopping point, you're not moving for any further, so you're grayed out. So we have the suitability review. These are all, items that you're familiar with, is making sure you update their suitability page. And then, if they haven't been updated and it's been more than 5 days since their application, then it's going to tell you that, hey, these people need to have something done with them. And then we have the not enrolled, or, whatever area that they are, whatever they're in, whatever their status is, and how we can keep moving them along so that they get to the registrant status. Courtney, this is kind of what you're talking about as far as I need to set reminders. Well, your dashboard has the reminders built in. So whenever a person, let's say I, did it on January 31st is when I do your progress page update. In 30 days, your progress page report, or check-in will be due again. So the idea is that we don't want to like flood you with on the first, between the 1st and the 5th, you have to have all these things done. As you do the progress page updates, that's when they'll just keep coming in, and they'll populate this yellow area that their progress page update is due. And if you haven't updated the progress page once it's due, if you haven't updated it within 5 days, that's when you're going to get a notification to say, hey, progress page has been overdue, been due, and it's been 5 days. You need to get in there and do something with them. And so this is also an area where I just want to give everyone a heads up that whenever you start out, if you have people that have been in there for over 30 days in the system for over 30 days, you're going to have most of your people here in the red. Don't be alarmed. It's not, nobody's going to, beat you up because you don't have your progress pages update. The thing is that's where they're supposed to fall on the dashboard, and this will be your first opportunity to go in and check all those progress pages. So, you can expect to see your people here unless you go ahead and update those progress pages before this dashboard is released. And anyway, just want to give you an update on that. And then also we have an area for case notes. So you can see if it's time for you to add a case note. If the person hasn't had a case note entered in the past 30 days, then it's time. It needs to be added. And so you can do that, in IWDS or in Illinois WorkNet. And then if you do it in Illinois WorkNet, it will populate IWDS, but this is where you're going to go to easily see who is due to have a case note. If you have a person that has it's 35 days or greater since their last case note, you're going to get a notification. And so again, those are in the red. Again, that's an alert that you need to do something with them. You're kind of past the warning. Now it needs to be done. And then green, you're good to go. And the gray would be somebody that's exited and past their follow-up time period, and so they're no longer required to have any case notes. And so we have our customer service area. So you can see the different types of customer services. And then we're still in the process for really nailing down what this completion status area means. So you'll see updates for that section. I did want to give you a heads up on this dashboard. Any questions so far? You may be wondering, well, that's a lot of information. So let me show you. We do have instructions that are available. They are in your partner guide. And we have this document has been updated for the progress page, and this document has been added for the case note tool. So those are available. Also, what I've started doing as of today is that Tara's always really good about getting all of us to get all of our webinar plans together for the upcoming month, and she'll usually send that information out to everyone. So what I'm doing now as the practice moving forward is we will go ahead and put the upcoming webinar information and plan out here on the training page, and then that way you'll be able to see, what the upcoming topics are going to be. And again, feel free to contact us and let us know if there's some topics that need to be covered that we don't have currently in the upcoming plan. And if you need them, if you feel like you need to have that information sooner, then make sure you let us know so we can cover it on one of our webinars. Okay. Any questions? Or Tammy or anybody? You want to?
Hi, this is Tammy. Just following up again on eligibility, making sure that you're getting all the documentation required for eligibility and that you're initiating it in WorkNet, the application, and then requesting your counterpart with the LWIA to put that into the IWDS, and same way with services. Once again, we're going to be looking at services. It still seems like we're lacking on the service side being entered. And Tara put the ISS. The ISS is a required activity, which is the progress page. And so there is a step in your activities for ISS. So one of the first things, you should be assessing these individuals, and then first. And then the next thing you should be doing is developing an ISS, which is basically the individual service strategy or service plan. And Natasha, you want to kind of walk through on the progress page what we anticipate seeing for their ISS?
And Tammy did bring up a good point that I didn't cover on this particular webinar, is that, as you do assessments, you can, obviously enter information into IWDS, but you can also have enter additional assessment information into Illinois WorkNet. So, this is like the skills and interest profiler, Employment 101. I'm sure many of you have used these in other situations, but we do have the other assessment, ability to add the different other types of assessments. And whenever those assessments are entered into Illinois WorkNet, they populate IWDS not as an assessment, because we can't populate them at this time as assessments, but they do allow us to populate IWDS as a case note that identifies, that includes this assessment information into that case note. And then, let's see, okay,
and I strongly recommend, especially if you're tape testing, to include that as an other assessment and then to put their scores in there, because then that's an area that we can pull information from. And then take a look basically at, where you started, and then we can follow progression, as they're going through. But so tape testing, you really need to include those as the other assessment in this area.
Yeah. Sorry, write down a note for myself. Okay, and then, again, to go through here, when you identify the different goals, we have the different training programs. If you have like a construction tier 1 and construction tier 2, or whatever the case may be, you can go ahead and set those programs start and end dates. This is the information from their application. You can look at their Employment 101, and you can update their goals here as well. So you can identify occupation choices. These are based on the career pathway that was selected, and then update those goals. So we want to make sure that information is up to date. Again, you look at their barriers and, identify if there's any additional services or referrals that need to be made based on their barriers, and then you can add the service. So you can see, okay, I just got a panic attack. I just want to make sure I was still in test. But you can see that we had some information come in from IWDS, so you can see which items were entered into IWDS. You can see which ones items have been added, and you can see that this says sent request. That means that this was added into Illinois WorkNet, and this person doesn't necessarily have access to IWDS, so they said that this person had case management on this start date, and it was started, and the request was sent to the LWIA contact who can add information into IWDS. So in order to do that, you just simply click Add Service. You pick a service. You say it's WIOA funded. picking items. You can enter program name, enter zip code description, and then if it's not started, then you can enter the start date, say end date, and then weekly hours, if you have any notes, and save it, and then it'll add it to this list, and you can see that it's not requested, but you can go ahead and start putting in those different start dates, to make out the plan of planned activities, services. Whenever that service starts, you can go in and mark it as started and open, and it'll tell you that it must be entered in through IWDS, and you can submit a request for a career planner to enter those services. So you submit the request, and then those services for all the people that you have entered them in for, the person that's been identified as the OWIA career planner who is going to be entering those services will receive a summary notification. So they'll get one email once a day that will have the listing of people and the details of the service that are available, so they can go in and enter that information into IWDS. Once they enter that information into IWDS, Illinois WorkNet will sync in sometime in the wee hours, and it will pull in and sync that service in IWDS to the item that you sent the request for. So for this particular person, if they have the same service and program name and the same start date, then IWDS and Illinois WorkNet will be like, oh, I have a match. And it'll change this to started, and whatever information from that point on that's entered into IWDS will update this line item. So if you're doing your 30-day review and you look at it and you see that you have 2 items that are for personal counseling, and maybe the person in IW that put it into IWDS, but like personal counting February 7th instead of the 6th, you can tell them if they need to change that date. But otherwise, if it's just a duplicate and it's not really that big of a deal, you can just remove that line item and leave the one that's already been synced up with IWDS. If you don't want to wait for the sync to happen, let's close this up, then overnight, where it does the whole batch for everybody, then you can click the button right here to sync with IWDS, and it will pull in and sync all the items with IWDS for that individual. Oh, one other important piece of information. In the contact appointment information, you need to make sure that for that contact, if you're going to be submitting a request to IWDS to have that entered into if you're going to use Illinois WorkNet to send the request to enter it into IWDS, then the person who is that career planner needs to be listed as a contact. Because what we don't want to do is send a whole bunch of requests to all these different career planners, and nobody knows who's supposed to be entering them, and they thought somebody else was. Then, if they haven't, we just want to send the request to the people who are supposed to get it for that particular customer. Okay, so I see Natasha has one. I placed all my applicant certifications, but they haven't synced in Illinois WorkNet. So we'll just have to look at those. I mean, I have to have the programmer look at the difference. Things in the past that have happened is that if you are still kind of recovering from your data lag experience, if that's kind of where you fall into that category, then we'll need to update their application date, because we will not pull in any services prior to the application date. So that might be one reason. So if you look at their application dates and if those are all correct, then we need to move on to figure out something different. But if those application dates need to be basically backdated, then please let us know. The customer, and I prefer not to use their full name, but either like first name, first initial, last name, and then their application date. If you would send that to us, then I can have Cody change those application dates, and then it'll start pulling in the services if they're before that application date. And so when I talk about application date, what I'm talking about is this application submit date. So anywhere, it doesn't matter which page you're on, but in their profile information, if you look at the application submit date, and if the services that you're trying to have entered occur before whatever that date is, then let us know so we can change that date. That's most likely what's going on. Some other issues that we've had in the past are just, like something else is going on with the Social Security number. But other than that, we haven't really been experiencing any issues. Okay, any other questions? So just as a follow-up to Natasha, so just let me know what your, if you look at those dates, just if you don't mind, just shoot me an email and saying that, either these are the dates that need to be changed, or, no, I've looked at all the dates and we need to look at those a little bit more closer, see what else is going on.
And just a reminder, I know Tara's been great. She's been out in the field working with a lot of you guys to get your information, make sure we have the files documented correctly, and make sure the information is getting in the system. I think there are still a few TA visits that are going to occur, and then after that we will have official monitoring visits with our office monitoring staff. So they'll be out doing that the first quarter. So we just want to make sure, like I said, once again, your documentation is in the system, services are in the system, eligibility is done correctly. And if you have any questions on that, you can definitely get a hold of Tara or myself, Tammy.
And also, just to be clear, I want to make sure you know that anything that's marked in here as when you add a service, if you have it as not started, then if whenever you're putting together your initial plan, obviously you want to just put in the ones that really aren't started as not started. That doesn't send any requests to IWDS. It just simply is putting together the plan. But once they start the service, then you can move it to the started/open. All right. Well, I see a couple of people typing, but if you don't have any other questions, then thank you very much. I really appreciate you joining us. And again, if you have any questions, you can always send them to the info@illinoisworknet.com. And then that way we can answer you as soon as possible.